Very often we do repetitious tasks in Excel or other programs as well. For example, we print our file, we may expand the columns of a file, we may change the print size, we may put in certain text, etc. If you're going to be doing this repeatedly from different Excel sheets, you'd like to do it as quickly as possible. Most people would like to have maybe some sort of shortcut to do this. Now, one solution is automating these tasks with what is called a macro. A macro is a series of commands one records one at a time and then replays them whenever you need to perform the same task again. The commands are stored and they can be considered complete programs. They can be run from a toolbar or a menu or from a shape in a workbook. Some examples of macros would be extracting data from an Excel list and creating a chart, or printing several reports from a worksheet, each with different print requirements, or supplying a common set of formats to a sheet. As long as it involves repetition, a macro could be used to expedite your task. Before you actually create a macro, you should run through the actual steps that you normally do in order to perform that repetitive task. Because when you create this using a macro, all your steps are recorded. We'll say this. When we create a macro, we're going to be using a macro recorder. We'll create a very simple macro which will enable me, when I press a key, to put in my name, my address, my city, and zip. It will center the information, it'll make it bold, it'll put it on top of the sheet. And we can embellish upon this very easily. Let's start out by choosing the Office button, and we could proceed down to Excel options and see everything is correctly in place. We can check by choosing Trust Center, and one of the choices there says Microsoft Excel Trust Center settings. Let's take a look. On my computer I have Enable All Macros. This is not necessarily the best choice because it tells us it's not recommended, because a macro has the possibility of containing a virus. So you need to be careful that the macro is trusted. As you see, you have other possible choices here. You can just disable any macros, so if you open up a program that has a macro in it, it will not run that macro. In this case, I'm going to create my own macro. I will trust it. I'll be able to use it. And then click on Developer, and we're going to choose to create a macro. We have to give it a name. So I'm going to call it my name, and I'll say, I forgot to point out, where we saw before the macro security, we could have done it more quickly by just clicking on macro security, and then we could have chosen what we wanted to put in at that point. In any event, what we're going to do now is we're going to record a macro. Let's click on that, and let's give it a name. I'll call it my name, and I can give it a shortcut key, so this way when I use it, all I need to do is press that key. And let's put in capital N. We're going to store this macro in this workbook for now, and you can give it a description. You can say my name and address or whatever else. Click on OK, and now we are ready to perform the macro itself. Everything will be recorded from this point on. Let's put in my name, and let's put in an address. Let's continue, and a zip code. Let's highlight this data, or our name. Let's make it bold. Let's now center it. Let's finish it at this point. We've done the basics. So we can go back to Developer and click on Stop Recording. Let's review a few things. One, when you click OK in the recorded macro, we saw that Excel starts watching your moves. And we see that we have to be careful, and anything that we do on the screen by pressing any key will get recorded. When you're done, press the Developer tab and you press Stop Recording. When you'd like to run your macro, assuming we've assigned a shortcut key to the macro, we will press it. So in this case, we're going to hold down the Control key and Shift and N. Can also put the same list of macros, if we have more than one, in the Quick Access toolbar in the upper left corner of the screen. And in my case, I already have inserted there. As you can see, I have View Macros. And the purpose of this is that we can quickly go to a macro, and to see it, I would just press the area over there, and I will then see the macro. And then if I wish to run it, I'd click on Run. Now, how do you get it up there? You would click the Office button on top and choose Excel Options, and we'd go into the left hand side, and from the list we can choose Customize, and we can go down to where it says View Macros, and then we would choose Add. Now, since mine is already there, it appears under View Macros. And we'd say OK. And then you would see what I have on top of my screen, namely the View Macros, which is now a permanent part of the screen. If you'd like to tinker with the macros code in Visual Basic in its editor, we can do that as well. If we decide to click on macros and we choose Edit, we now see the code that was created when we created our macro. Now, typically we don't want to change it here, but we have a feel for what was involved in creating it, so we can see, for example, it says the active cell, we typed it in, is the name, and then we typed in again in cell H2 the address, in cell H3 we typed in, etc. And it tells us that I put in bold, true means I put it in, and then I centered it, and a few other things that were part of it, and then we finally ended, and that was the macro. So if you do want to make changes, if you really recognize what it is, what it does, you can make it within there. But sometimes it's just much easier to retype the macro from the beginning. If you would like to delete the macro, we can easily do that as well by choosing it and choosing Delete. And then it would ask us, do you want to do it? Yes, no. And then you can continue or create another macro with the same name and go on from there. A few other points. One is, if you click one more time on the quick toolbar, we have an option choice whereby we can put in the description of our macro to make it easier. We can change the assigned letter for the short key as well. Second thing is, you may see also that the Developer tab is not up on top of your screen. You may want to just go back to the Office button, you choose Excel, choose Popular, and then you will check off the Show Developer tab. We already have it on my screen, so there's no problem, but you may not see it on yours, so you'd have to just have it appear by doing that. One last point, when you give your macro name, you cannot use spaces. So for example, if you're going to be using the word, like we did, my name, you cannot use my space name. It has to be one complete word. And this is the reason why you may want to give a description to the macros function, so that anyone will understand exactly what the macro does.